Welcome to Mitten Music.
We had the opportunity to talk with Nate Dorough, longtime music promoter in the state of Michigan and current director of programming at the Pyramid Scheme.
Ryan,
Mr. Jeff.
Who do we got today?
We have Nate. Now, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong. Dorough.
Dorough, yeah.
Yeah, Nate Dorough from one of our favorite places on planet Earth, the Pyramid Scheme.
Yeah.
One of mine
Finally.
as well. And now I've got a Pyramid
Finally.
Scheme email address to match how much I love the place. So it's a pretty cool opportunity for me to be at a place that I've felt the same way about for a really long time.
And Nate, I mean, you've been in the industry for a long time and been doing bookings and overseeing festivals and all kinds of different things for a long time. But you were kind of involved in the Pyramid Scheme. Is it just booking shows for bands, or how did that start for you to get kind of your foot in the door at the Pyramid Scheme?
Yeah, I've been a promoter in Michigan now for 22 years, booked about 4,000 shows in about 100 venues. And, you know, it started off here in Livingston County. I live in Howell. You know, I started booking hall shows in my hometown, just, you know, punk rock DIY stuff. And yeah, fast forward a little bit, I started a company called Fusion Shows in 2008. And a couple years into that, after the mixtape closed in Grand Rapids, I didn't have anywhere to put shows in Grand Rapids. And then all of a sudden I started hearing through the band La Dispute that the Vandenbergs, Jeff and Tammy, were opening a venue. Jeff, with his label Friction Records, had put out La Dispute's records back in the day. La Dispute was coming and playing in Howell with me and in some other markets that I was working in, Detroit and Lansing, and really crushing. And I said, you need to meet the Vandenbergs. You need to check out this venue they're opening. So, you know, I eventually got a meeting with Jeff and Tammy and walked through the space when it was dirt floors and they were still like working on it all. And we're going to put the green room over here and this is where the stage is going to be and all this stuff. And it was, you know, kind of a cool moment to see it right then and there. We eventually made a deal to where I could bring them some shows, and they opened in 2011, I think in April. So we're coming up on our 15th anniversary. My first show I booked there was in May of 2011, but I was working as an outside promoter. So I basically rented the room. Over the years, I put about 500 shows in the venue through my various promotional companies with Fusion Shows, with Audio Tree Presents, with Kickstand Productions. And there just came a point where I was kind of longing for a space to call my own, to where I could curate an entire calendar. Being a promoter is a chaotic life. And as I got older and my daughter got older and like, you know, we're doing school stuff and doing drop off and she's sitting in the other room right now, you know, playing on the computer. I'm like, just, if there's an emergency, open the door, but if not, leave me alone. And just looking for a little more stability at a time where the Pyramid Scheme was looking for someone to replace Jeff, who's the owner, as like the booker who had booked it since COVID when Nicole left 4 years earlier.
That's who I remember. Nicole used to be a part of the mix too.
And Nicole's one of my best friends in the world. Huge shoes to fill. Obviously through COVID, all of the venues everywhere had to resort and folks had to make decisions as far as what they were going to do for their careers. And Nicole moved into some other scenarios. She's at Bamboo now in Grand Rapids and just crushing it as their event director. So, you know, Jeff did it for 4 years. Jeff and Jeremy and Tammy just kind of held it down as the two owners and the GM. And I pitched it to them and I said, look, I'd love to, you know, get some stability. It feels like you guys are kind of done with the idea of doing it yourself and you might be in a position to where you could utilize a dude like me. And they were like, yes, let's do that. You know, I had booked, like I said, 500 shows in that room over 13 years. Besides those three and Nicole, nobody knows that room better than I do. What works, what doesn't. A couple years ago, we made the official decision for me to jump on board as the full-time director of programming, and here we are.
I can't believe they held it together for that many years before you, because I know Jeff is an artist in his own right. He's got his record label. He's a pinball fanatic. He owns, like, him and Tammy own the place. So there's that. Tammy, I know, or maybe together they own the Winchester, don't they? Is that another place they own?
Not the Winchester. What's it? The Meanwhile.
Meanwhile. That was it.
Same
so like that's the thing. And then I'm sure they got others. Like that's a ton of stuff.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
They're incredibly involved in the community, like I said with Tammy, you know, a lot of political stuff that she does, a lot of advocating for houseless folks and for, you know, cannabis reform and just lots of stuff like that. And
She's
then Jeff with
awesome.
his art, the pinball collecting, he owns a bar up in Ludington. You know,
What's that
that's like a
called?
pinball bar. Oh gosh. There's one
I
called,
go
I
there.
think he actually owns two now. There's one called The Outsider, and I can't remember the other one. Sorry, Jeff. But, you know, he's got pinball in like 6 different places now. You know, he's got 90 machines that he,
Yeah.
you know, moves from space to space and has to fix them when they break and all that. Got a lot on his plate. And for me to come in and, you know, ultimately I think of myself as replacing Nicole, even though there was a 4-year gap. But
Sure.
it is interesting that they survived for 4 years and then they could add someone with my caliber or whatever. And it felt right. You know, you don't usually get to just add a person on, you know, to your executive team, especially when things are hard, and things have been hard since COVID as independent venues go, but it's worked out so great. And it's just been, you know, like you said, it's one of my favorite places in the world. I've always said it was my favorite venue to book shows in. And now to have that pyramidschemebar.com email address and a business card and the whole thing is just like it's super freaking cool. I just wish I lived closer because I'm almost 2 hours east, you know.
Yeah.
So
What? Go ahead, Ryan.
I have to geek out here a second. I think you know what story I'm about to tell, and I just got to get this out of the way. I've told this story on so many episodes of this podcast. So many bands know the story. I don't think Nate knows the story yet.
All right, bring it.
So Pyramid Scheme opened 2011, 2012, like February, March. My office moved in right next door. So I think it's empty right now, directly next door. Like on the other side of the wall where the band plays, the north wall. My desk was on the other side of the wall where the stage is. For 4 years, my desk was there, and I loved everybody at my office. 4:00 on a Thursday, you'd start hearing thump, thump, do, and then people are starting to like, you know, get set up gear and for that show that night or whatever. And I loved it. Everybody else would leave early at my office, and I would just stay. I'm like, heck yeah, I would go to the Pyramid Scheme multiple times a week just to go see who's playing. I wouldn't always stay, but I know that place inside and out. I have been there so many times, and I worked right next door to it for so long. I've been on the roof in there. I've been in every single room in that place. I've helped Jeremy figure out some AC issues like the first year I was there. It was just bonkers. I just had to get that out there. I have such a heart. I have 4 Pyramid Scheme t-shirts, and I don't know where they are. They're in a box. I was looking
more
for
than
them.
I have. I have 1.
I got 4 of them, man. Oh, I have to tell you how important this place is to me, just personally. So important. I love it.
I love that.
I just
There's
had
so
to
many
get that
people
out there
that
and
have,
let you know.
yeah, there's so many people that have stories about that, you know, that how important this place is. And as I keep saying the world burns, I keep saying that as like a general, like, we're not going to get into it, but we all know, you know, there's shit going on in the world. It's more important than it's ever been, a place like the Scheme, you know, and all the places, you know, the intersection and St. Cecilia's and the DAC and all the places in town that are just hosting nights for us to get away from it all for a couple hours. But the Scheme is special, man. And they've really leaned into this, you know, just this beautiful community, music, art, pinball, cheap enough drinks for venue. You know, it's not maybe more expensive than going to a regular bar, but certainly not your Live Nation prices. And those are coming to town soon with the new amphitheater. But yeah, it's just a special place. And like I said, I'm just tickled pink. I could talk like this all day about it, you know?
That's awesome. Good for you.
So Nate, when you were booking before you've been working for the Pyramid Scheme directly, why did that make it? I mean, you booked a lot of shows. I mean, you like you said, you booked over 4,000 shows and 500 of them were there. What made that a desirable place for you to book of other places?
I mean, first and foremost is what we just talked about. It's the feeling, it's the importance, it's the full picture, it's diversity of music genres, diversity of people that come through. The way it was designed, it was thought about as a music venue. You know, a lot of music venues are old buildings that maybe weren't purpose built for that. So there's a lot of like nuances and weird stuff, or they're just like big open boxes or, you know, whatever it is. And the Scheme was just thought about is like, where is a place that we could intimately be right there with the band face to face and have a Melvins or a Mudhoney or whoever, all these bands, Grandmaster Flash, X, all these great band, dude, failure. I'm working on getting them back. I'm trying October.
Are you kidding me? This is one of my favorite bands.
I'm probably, that show was unbelievable. I was there. I booked that.
It was right after my birthday.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. We're trying to get them back. We have a new record coming out. I'm going to try not to spoil too many things, but I might drop a few spoilers on this bad boy while we're talking.
Yeah.
It's not confirmed, but it's possible. The vibes are just so good. And then, it sounds good. It looks good. And it's the people that make it. It is just a building. It's a well thought out building. It's a beautifully constructed building. It's a thoughtful building, but it's the people that make it. And, that team is awesome, dude. And just being on that squad and seeing the way they react to situations, whether they're tough situations or great situations or whatever, and they just handle everything in stride. They're pro as hell. And, I book shows in a lot of places, and you walk into some rooms and it's like there's just chaos from the start. And it never feels like that at the Scheme. It's like there's a blizzard, but it's fine. We already shoveled the walk. We already salted the stairs. We already did, we've got 5 wheelchairs coming tonight, but it's no big deal because we designed this place to have people in wheelchairs that can totally see the stage just fine and like get up the ramp and get in through the door and the back, just it's all of that, right? So it's like every time there's something that is on fire somewhere else, as I talk about the world being on fire, I walk in there and I'm calm and I'm the guy whose ass is on the line that night, whether it's financially or if someone falls down or whatever, but like we're just on it. And so, bands go on tour and like there's rooms that have more elaborate green room setups and there's rooms that have better technical equipment or whatever, but I can challenge any room in the country as far as vibes go, and being able to just package that and hand it to a band. That's why Melvins came back like 6 times. We haven't had them in a couple of years, but they like name the Pyramid Scheme as one of their favorite bands. And that's a historic, like badass band that's been doing it for 40 years, So, yeah.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
So when you're booking for the Pyramid Scheme, let me take that back. So we hear of we've talked to a lot of bands, right, that had shows at the Pyramid Scheme. A lot of them put together their bill. How does that work? There's a lot of bands that will come to you and pitch something. We never really heard the story from the venue side on that and how that works.
I know one of the shows that you guys have been paying close attention to is this Pretty Sure album release party that's coming up this weekend. I don't know when this is airing, but it's this weekend to the human being that's sitting here talking right now. On Saturday, Pretty Sure is a band that I've worked with a few times. They've opened a few shows. I think they headlined one in the past. Generally with a local band, the way I kind of like to treat it, unless I know what I want to do with the bill, is I let the local band come to me with like, these are the 4 bands we want to play, or 3 bands, or whatever it is. Some nights it's 2 bands, whether it's a jam band that wants to play for 3 hours, Desmond Jones or whatever,
Yeah.
Like that scene 2-band bill, right? Punk bill, 4-band bill. So in this case, Pretty Sure came to me and said, I've got Low Phase, I've got Ficus, and I've got another band that I can't remember. Riot Course. Great band from Detroit. If you haven't heard, cool. Dude, they're so good.
We interviewed them already.
They're really, really rad. It's an awesome 4-band bill. So, they come to me and say, hey, we're looking to put out a record in 6 months or 8 months or 4 months, whatever it is that they reach out, hopefully 6 months out so that I can like get them a prime date. And I say, yeah, that sounds like a great bill. I've got history with all the bands. Low Phase has sold out the room on their own before. Ficus is one of our go-tos. Riot Course is a band from Detroit that maybe doesn't pull a lot of people in Grand Rapids yet, but I love them. Their new record's awesome. I'm going to book this show. And then we look at the calendar and say, okay, look, March 21st has got a show already booked, or it's got 7 holds. I just issued. So you issue what's called holds, and basically you stack on a date the tours or the shows that want to play. So I don't just say like somebody's holding that date, you can't have it, because the chances are they're holding 5 other dates. And then this other tour is holding 5 other dates over here that overlap on 2 days. So you get first hold, second hold, third hold, fourth hold. And then ultimately the 4th hold wants to confirm the show. They hit me up and say, hey, we'd like to confirm this. I have to go to the 3rd, the 2nd, and the 1st hold and issue what's called a challenge. And a challenge is basically you have 24 hours to take the show or release it to me so that I can bump everybody up one.
Whoa.
So in this case, pretty sure, I don't remember exactly how it went down, but they were probably given a third hold on a couple of dates or whatever. And then they decided the 28th was their like prime date. So I went to the 2 holds ahead of them and said, hey, you have 24 hours, take the date or give it back to us so that we can book this other show. They got out of the way, maybe confirmed a different date. Maybe the tour went away and they forgot to tell me, or who friggin' knows? There's a million scenarios. But I just issued like a 12th hold today on a date in September. So there's 11, they got their 12th hold and there was like, oh, there's 11 other tours I have to go, clear if I want that date.
And you tell them that probably, right? That you're 12.
Yeah. So your send
odds
them the
are pretty
list,
low.
They were holding September 13 through 19, which is like a Sunday through a Saturday. And 14 through 18 are gone. They're already booked. So all I could give them was the first 2 days and the last day. And the first 2 days were like a 4th and a 3rd hold, Sunday, Monday. And then that Saturday was like a 12th hold because there's just a million. And it's Riot Fest weekend. So it's like everybody's touring through around Riot Fest. Sure. Everybody's holding dates all over the place. And they're doing the same thing. The agents are doing the same thing at Bell's, at the intersection, at the shelter in Detroit, and in Fort Wayne and whatever. They're just stacking up holds, putting them in their system. And then there's a whole process where they take the routing and they, run it around the country in the way that's best for them. And sometimes that means that they have to play Grand Rapids on a date that I don't have available, or they have to play Grand Rapids on a date the intersection doesn't have available, or whatever their like prime room is might not be available that day because they're fixed on like having to be in Chicago for Riot Fest on the Friday, right? Or whatever it is. You build your anchors and then, So I'm getting really in the weeds here. It goes on and on.
This is awesome. No, I love this.
You can see like my grid, I've got shows pending or in some fashion being held, or an offer out, or confirmed and not announced yet, or confirmed and on sale. I've got about 250 shows currently holding some level at the Pyramid Scheme. And the other venues we dabble in town, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point.
So I have a question kind of related to this. The shows, so I'm very familiar with like maybe some of the Facebook banners or the post you make where it lists just like 40 shows that are coming up like the next 3 months. There's always so many that are already sold out. How? In some of these shows, I honestly, some of them are a little more popular bands. Like the second people hear about that band coming out and they can get tickets, they're going to get them. So I can see why those sell out. And some are some bands I'm not familiar with. And I'm just like, how do you guys get so many sold out shows so far in the future? I feel like every time I'm looking at the list, there's so many sold out shows and they're like still 2 months out. They're still 8 weeks out. It's bonk. How are you guys how is it the bands like pulling the fans or?
Yeah, this business is full of ways of making you feel not as cool as you think you are, right? Like you end up in these situations where you're like, who the hell is Castle Rat? And why did that sell out 3 months in advance? But it's a month from tomorrow. It's this metal band that is on the same team as Ghost, as the same team as Sleep Token. They're like the next thing in that like operatic metal costume wearing like world.
Great way to say it.
3 months ago, they probably wouldn't have sold out, but we just hit them at the right moment. That agent is the same agent that does Baroness with us every couple of years. We've just taken care of them. We've taken care of a bunch of their bands over their years. They know that the Scheme is the right stop on the way up, which we get bands on the way up, but we get them on the way down. That's where we get them, right? Nobody aspires. I don't want to say nobody. I had a local band hit me up today and was like, I aspire, like, I feel like I've made it if I played the Pyramid Scheme. I'm like, okay, well, that tells me you're probably not ready for the Pyramid Scheme because you don't know that even at this level, you certainly haven't made it. But it's cool to hear and say, and I get what you're saying. Castle Rat hasn't made it if they're playing a Pyramid Scheme in each market. They're headed to arenas or wherever they're headed. So we just got lucky, not lucky. We've performed well. We've done our job. We've set a vibe where these kind of bands belong, and we get a
shown
chance.
Who you are.
It's 100% fan. I mean, you're more likely to go to a show at the Pyramid Scheme because you love the Pyramid Scheme, but you're not going you're one of a few rare folks that might go to the Pyramid Scheme just to go to the Pyramid Scheme because there's a show and you trust our whatever. But there are certainly nights when you show up and you're like, I hate folk music, and there's a folk act playing and you're like, shoot, I went to the Pyramid Scheme and it sucked, And it's not that it sucks, it just, we all have tastes, right? I don't like country music, I don't like EDM dubstep, but you know what? Those can sell out too, right? So my job as the talent buyer, as the director of programming, is to get the right shows first and foremost that fit the room, that have fans, that have people that are interested. And then my job is to not screw it up, and that's from a marketing perspective, just getting it on sale, making sure the tickets go, that they're available, that you guys know about them, that the world knows about them. But nobody's buying tickets to see a venue unless it's a Red Rocks or a Ryman or whatever. But we do have a little bit of that, right? We do have a little bit of that love, but clearly people are coming to see Failure, Melvins, Baroness, La Dispute, whoever it is, right? And it just so happens that happens to be at the Pyramid Scheme. So that's how those sellouts happen, is we just wave a magic wand at it. And I would love to have a magic wand to just wave at a show and be like, sold out. It's funny. We have sold out. But what you guys don't know is the one in between there has 3 tickets sold.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, actually, speaking of that, kind of taking that to another step, like 2 questions, I guess, off that is, one, how much are you researching when the bands come? I mean, there's bands coming to you, right? How much are you, we're going to take this band, you're going to take the risk on them maybe. Are you doing research to figure out, do you think you're going to get a good crowd? And then on the flip, the other question I was going to have is around, I feel like since COVID, a lot of venues have struggled to get audiences back into the venues. And how have you guys, as the Pyramid Scheme, really handled that? Or how have you guys, where you guys been on the wave? It's just really inconsistent. You don't know from band to band what you're going to get.
2-part question. So first question, research. Absolutely. There's a lot of layers to it. I'll unpack them in a quick bullet point list here. There are resources available to concert professionals where they can look up social media numbers, Spotify plays, all those things in like one place. There's a couple of different, there's one called Vibrate, which I use a lot. There's another one called Chartmetric. And they're just like analytics tools. So you can see TikTok blowing up while is Instagram following? Is it just a thing that happened on one platform? And then there's also, repositories of concert finals. Like there's a magazine called Polestar, which if you walk into like a music office, like a label or a agency, you'll see a copy of Polestar sitting there. It's just a periodical, but at the end, it actually has like box office numbers that get reported, and they're reported to the industry. And then there's an online component of that now too. Most of us don't get the magazine anymore. We just go on the internet like everything else in this world. I was trying to explain to my daughter today, like what life was like before cell phones and internet when I was her age. And she just, what?
Can't believe
I've got all these cassettes over here and records back there. And it's like, what are these things that do stuff that isn't on a computer? So there's all these like databases of things. But the most important thing is like we network, Live Nation has a system in which like one office of Live Nation in London or New York City gets a Radiohead, avail, and it goes in the system and pings all the buyers. Radiohead's touring. Check this out. We don't have that as independents, but what we've done since COVID, as a segue into your second question, since COVID, we've all teamed up. We started NEVA, which is the National Independent Venue Association. We had a thing called the Michigan Independent Venues and Promoters Association, MIVPA, which I was the vice president of, and Scott Hammondtree of the Intersection was the president. We're 2 competing rooms that compete on shows, and we were the president and vice president and got together and tried to save our business, right? And since we've all remained friends, and we talk and we share information. Oh man, that tour kind of didn't do so good. Maybe put in a little smaller room, which I think is great for the band. Maybe it makes me offer them a little less money, but ultimately it also places them in the right spot to where they can be successful. And maybe the next time around, if they have that successful show in the market, they can come back and do better the next time in a bigger room, right? So there's a lot of networking that goes on. And that's a post-COVID thing that's really, we've leaned into like, we can't do this alone. We have to do this together. We still have meetings. We still have Zooms. There's a conference in June called the NEVA conference it jumps from city to city. This will be the 5th year. This year it's in Minneapolis, which is going to be interesting with everything that's going on in Minneapolis in the world, but also like such a musical hub with First Avenue. And the owner of First Avenue was the first president of NEVA. So It makes sense to bring it home, especially when Minneapolis kind of needs some love the most. So we go to these conferences, we talk about all these issues, all the things facing us, how to do them better, how to create tools to do better, which leads to, the post-COVID question, like how are we okay? And I think, Nicole, Jeremy, Jeff, Tammy, the entire staff, they spent 10 years of their lives laying down in a puddle so someone could walk over them to get to where they needed to be, and mentally, emotionally, whatever. These people bend over backwards to create such a special space. So people remembered that. And when it was time to come back, and when it was safe to come back, or safe-ish, we like ramped back into it, people came back, and they needed it. They wanted it. They desired it. Costs have gone up. Gas prices have gone up for touring buses and things like that. So they're asking for more money or hoping to see a higher percentage of the door. And at the same time, people are drinking less. So our profit margins that are outside of the deal with the artist are dwindling. So it's like, you just got to play the game better. And, the pyramid scheme, when it started, made most of its money at the bar. And the music was sort of secondary. And now we have to make our money on the music, which is tough because, like I just said, all the touring costs have gone up. So it just takes that. It's a fine pointed needle, that we got to send through as many hoops as possible. I'm a big metaphor guy, and that was a poor one, but
that was good.
It's doing your job well. It's loving on your community, and the community's shown it back big time. And, we were really excited to be able to report that last year was our best year ever. And like, as I've said it 1,000 times, as the world burns, we had our best year, and it just tells us that the place like the scheme is more important to the community than it's ever been. And we're just trying really hard not to screw that up, and ruin that goodwill.
Heck yeah. I feel like the state of the burning world, it's like, I'm so glad the pyramid scheme there, because that's like the escapism, right? That's the place we can go. And I've been to, I feel like, a majority of the venues in the Grand Rapids area, if not all of them, most of them. There's just nothing quite like it. Like, it's cozy. I don't know how I'll explain it. It's comfort.
Yeah, for some people, and some people it's terrifying and weird and, scary and whatever, but that's okay. Like, I think Grand Rapids is incredibly blessed with unique concert experiences. Meyer Garden, for all of its ticket prices and whatever, is a beautiful place to see a show, to be outdoors, but a 2,000 cap and have that level of intimacy is really cool. We've done some shows over the years at Fountain Street Church, which is just a magical room, and nobody even knows the history of that place. Freaking U2 played there. Duke Ellington played there. Malcolm X spoke on that stage. Like, there is a list, just a huge list. And we've been trying to, when I was with Audio Tree is a video company as well. We wanted to do a documentary on the history of the place. And then, I ended up leaving Audio Tree for a variety of reasons, but that never happened. But it's still in the back of my mind of like, somebody should do a documentary just on the musical history of that place. And it's really cool because Taylor Tomlinson, the comedian, just released her Netflix special, which was shot at Fountain Street Church. And whether you like her comedy or not, I think she's hilarious. It was great, but it's a beautifully shot, and really treats Fountain Street Church with the history and the respect that it deserves. It really shows off the building beautifully. And I sent out a pitch to all the agents a couple weeks ago, because I don't have any shows on the calendar right now for Fountain Street. I have a couple that are like, we're offering on and things. I was like, we didn't do Taylor Tomlinson's show. It was a national promoter, Netflix was involved. There was a lot more money than I have to throw around to make that thing happen. But watch the first 10 minutes of that special, because it shows you how beautiful this room is. And that's right here in our, I say our city, I'm out here in Howell, hour and 45 minutes away, but
Got you.
In Grand Rapids. And it's like, there's other cities that don't have a Fountain Street Church, don't have a Meyer Gardens, they don't have an intersection, they don't have a St. Cecilia's, and they don't have a pyramid scheme. I'm lucky to be on one of those teams, you know?
What do you guys got coming along this year that you can speak to? You alluded to potential one, but what's kind of, and you guys do such a good job. I would say you kind of alluded to this earlier, but it's such a variety. You know, you don't go to the scheme and just see rock shows. You don't go to the scheme and just see this or that. Like every night could be a different night. And you're right. If you're just wanting to go to the scheme because you trust it, you might hit something different that you don't like because of your taste. Overall, I think you guys' bills are pretty well put together, and it's a good mix of local bands and national bands. So what's kind of a little taste for people, and maybe look out April, May, that type of timeline.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I've taken on is really activating the front bar a little differently. The beautiful thing about the scheme is that you can just show up and go play pinball and get drinks, no matter sold out show in the venue might color the vibe of the night. Cause if it's a bunch of goth folks that are there for a dance party, you're going to be like, oh, my Tiger's hat looks a little weird tonight. But generally you show up and it's just people, right? It's just like happy people in their favorite place or one of their favorite places generally. And you can just show up and do that. But we've been trying to activate the front bar. We never have a cover, but we're doing open mic comedy night that we've been doing monthly. We've been doing these vinyl nights where some friends come in from, various parts of our world, whether they're band members or folks at WYCE or Vertical Music came in and did a vinyl night. We've got a record label doing one tomorrow night. So we've been doing these vinyl nights up front where people just bring their vinyl collection in and we just hang out and talk about music. I'm throwing a record show in a couple weeks where we got 24 record collector vendors that are going to set up throughout the building. And then I offered up these, I just called them like 30-inch high top tables, basically the bar table for people who maybe aren't vendors, but like want to stick their toes in the idea of being a record collector, seller, trader, whatever. So they can bring one crate of vinyl from their personal collection, sit at one of those tables for $15 and be a vendor for a night, without having to have enough to fill a 6-foot table and cover the cost of the table. So we're doing that April 12th. And all those things are free. We're doing, what's the other free thing we've been doing lately? We've been doing free pinball where we have one night a month where it's just, we flip all the machines to free. And then, in the venue, look, this week alone, it's pop punk show with Pretty Sure, and then the next night is a comedian that's trans, and it's just like a celebration of LGBT lifestyle and everything. And those shows are the comedy shows. The first show sold out, so we added a late show, and that show's almost sold out too, which is great. We've got a ton of stuff. Obviously, we do a ton of heavy stuff. Jeff and Jeremy are big like metalheads. They love doom music, so we've got plenty of those things coming up. Dance parties, punk shows, emo shows, CKY, the legendary punk band from Jackass.
And Margera's Brothers band or something like that, right?
Yep. All kinds of stuff. So, and then, we're doing stuff at the big room across town with Quinn, another person that's one of my favorite people in the world is Quinn Matthews, who ran Midtown, which was the listening room. And now he's over at the big room at the Silva, which is a 1,400 cap room. So we've got 4 shows confirmed there and like 5 more pending that we haven't announced yet. We've been doing some shows at the Wealthy Theater. We've got Stuart Copeland from the friggin' Police coming and doing a spoken word thing in August. So that'll be cool. He's hilarious and just so smart. And so he's just going around the country playing 400 cap theaters and talking for 2 hours, and people are paying $80 to do it, and but that's going to be one of the coolest nights, to like host a literal actual legend. We've got Electric Six coming back. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and it's just it never ends, man. And I've got probably 50 shows on sale, but I'm counting right now. I'm just scrolling down on my computer here. Let me see how many shows I have confirmed that haven't announced yet. 46 more that are actually confirmed that I have not announced yet to the world. So like I've got them just queued up through, that 12th hold situation I was talking about was in September, but I'm sending offers for 2027 already, which is how this business works,
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get Failure. I got an offer out for Failure. I'm hoping they come back. They really enjoyed it. I don't know if there's any, are there any others I can, let me see if I can spoil one and not get in trouble. Let's see. Jeff Rosenstock's coming back. He's like a big punk thing. He just sold out, I think, 8 nights in a row at the Metro in Chicago. He does these like residencies where he comes in and will just take over a city, and he just calls it Jeff. I think it's like Jeff Rosenstock plays Chicago forever or something. And they just put one up at a time and they keep going until like, obviously they probably predetermined how many they're going to try to do because they can't hold every day forever. But I think they sold out 8 or 9 metros, which is 1,000 tickets a night, in Chicago. And then he's going to route to or from. I don't know if ours is before or after. So we'll announce that in a couple weeks, but he's like one of the Skeev's favorite go-tos, and he's coming back, hoping to get Failure in the fall. And there's a bunch of other stuff, man, that I can't get in trouble if I say.
Ooh, that's cool.
So when you were talking about you're working with like the Wealthy Street, Fountain Street, Big Room, is that stuff that's Pyramid Schemes helping to book through, or is it you're doing on the side?
They are Pyramid Scheme present shows. So my current situation personally, traditionally I've been a guy who ran a company that just went into rooms everywhere. So we were in Detroit, Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo, Flint, wherever. I am now in Michigan, only working for the Pyramid Scheme. The Pyramid Scheme is presenting shows at the Big Room, at the Wealthy Theater, at Fountain Street. I'm just doing Grand Rapids for now. I also do booking in St. Louis, Missouri, of all places, which is just a weird second gig that I ran into. Similar situation, but I'm not doing the social media and the production advances and all that. I'm just booking shows and then like handing them to a team. I'm talking to the same agents about the same tours. It's just I'm putting them in 2 spots instead of 1. So that's the ideal situation for me, is to have a couple of different, pots.
Get a third one.
Yeah, well, hey, I got some plans. I got some, I'm working on my own little personal brand right now that I'm trying to figure out. Sort of like a fusion shows back in the day, that would be like a thing that I can kind of use as my umbrella, so I can wear one hat. I was explaining to my wife yesterday, when I approach an agent or whoever, I have to wear the St. Louis hat and the Grand Rapids hat, and they're 2 different hats. And if you wear 2 hats, you look like an idiot. So I would love to wear one hat that kind of represents both. Right. So I'm working on like a personal brand that underneath all of that. And then from there, I could probably spread out and drop a show in Detroit for somebody that I love, that, but not do it a ton, just a little sprinkle of some extra, just for the bands that I've been working with for 20 years, like La Dispute, just long time homies that I've been booking since they first came up with the idea of that band 20 years ago.
They sold out GLC, I think, right? Last time they were.
Dude.
It's bonkers.
They're monsters, They started doing numbers in Grand Rapids many years ago, and then the second place in the world that they started doing numbers was in my hometown in Howell. And somehow it just so happened that we
You're the key.
No, I didn't have anything to do with the rise in Grand Rapids. I was actually booking a nut from Grand Rapids out my way called Broken Sunday, and the drummer.
I know Broken Sunday.
Yeah.
That's from ever ago.
Like 2005. And Brad, the drummer of La Dispute, was sitting in drumming for Broken Sunday at a show that I booked, and I brought them out. And, Broken Sunday was a pretty great rock band. That dude could sing his ass off.
Is his name Dave? David? The singer?
God,
dark hair?
No.
Well,
there might have been a David in the band.
I think my friend played in that band for a while. I have a t-shirt of theirs.
A lot of dudes did. But Brad pulled me aside afterwards, and he was like, look, I play with these guys because they're my cousins, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember what his connection was, but he's like, I love playing with them, but my band is called La Dispute. It's like my full-time thing. It's a lot different. It's a punk, hardcore. We play floor shows. We play DIY spots. And I'm like, well, I'll bring you guys out sometime. And that was just at the moment that I was starting to be onto something here in Livingston County, where I was having the whole high school show up. I'd do a hall show at the local rec center, and 200 kids would show up. And La Dispute was just at that moment where they hit at that same time. So they were the first band that we were bringing in from out of town that drew their own crowd. And we started selling out shows every 3 months with La Dispute in 200, 300 cap, VFW hall type spots, and the band is playing on the floor. There's some videos on YouTube that are just unbelievable. Give me chills, because there's just that band already emotes a scream the words back at us sort of scenario, if you've ever seen them live. These kids were doing that 20 years ago in my little tiny podunk hometown. And then they went on, they toured Europe. They actually did better in Europe and Australia than they were doing here. And then it finally stuck here. And yeah, to see them like sell out 20 Monroe last year, to see them do a theater of the same size on the same tour in Melbourne, Australia, and sell that out. You know, they've just changed so many lives with their music, and it's my favorite story. I'll talk. You can book me a whole nother time just to talk about La Dispute and their impact on the world and on my career. Just one of my favorite groups of people, human beings first, and then musicians second. But it's a very close second because I just, I love everything that they're about. And they were the ones that connected me to the scheme ultimately, which I almost forgot about until we talked about it right now. It's really weird that like,
isn't that funny?
Duh.
Right. I did just look it up. Broken Sunday was good friends with my friend's band, the Ivy League, and I've seen Broken Sunday play several times, so I was kind of mashing together a couple old memories.
Dude, thousands of shows later, man, it blends together. I'm surprised I remember any damn thing.
That's a blast from the past.
So get this, man. I do the math every once in a while where I'm like, all right, how big is this thing? 4,000 shows. Let's just say 3 bands on average, but I would say it's probably closer to 4. So let's say 12 to 16,000 bands that I book. And then you multiply that times 4 people in a band on average. That's what, 40 to 60,000 people that I've booked over the years. So like I said, sometimes I'm like, I remember something from 2005. I don't know how that is. I've got spreadsheets just dripping with this stuff, but
I bet,
every time I forget a name, I try to like remind myself, like, it's okay. You don't have to remember all of them. You don't have to remember the singer of Broken Sunday's name. I know what he looks like. I know what he sounds like. I can't remember his name to save my life.
If we do like a festival type thing and we talk to maybe like a dozen people during the day, and like a couple months later, I bump into them and I'm like, they want to shake my head like, hey, Ryan, music. I'm like, then my memory will get jogged. And we've only been doing this 4 years.
Looking for a name tag. Yeah.
All right. Sure.
That's awesome. I would love to talk to you again. That's good stuff.
I mean, I think we could talk
for
hours on this stuff.
Going.
I mean, and I know you've got probably stories upon stories.
Yeah, I had a podcast for during COVID that, and our episodes were like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It was like we pushed the damn limits, and it was just me talking to musicians about life and whatever.
Jeff hated me when we started, and I was like, 3-hour podcast, man. It's okay.
Let's go.
Yeah. One more question for you, Nate, on promotion. Like you mentioned briefly that you don't do like the socials for the St. Louis venue, but you obviously do for the Pyramid Scheme. It sounds like. How do you promote the show? It sounds like some of the bands are helping to promote the show, but what's kind of your focus? Is it mostly around the social media now?
Yeah. So there's a lot of, marketing's a big world, right? And it's probably my least successful part of what I do. I like to think that I've done a pretty darn good job since taking over the scheme, but also I didn't have to grow an audience from the ground up. The audience is sort of already there. We've got 35,000 people on our mailing list. You can look at our Facebook and our Instagram and see how many people follow us there. It's not everybody, right? We're adding people every day. We're getting new people in the venue. But my goal is to put the information out there where people can find it. Now, God dang it, the freaking algorithms make it hard, right? Like, I post something on Facebook. You guys both chose to follow the Pyramid Scheme, and somehow it still doesn't get through to you because I linked to a YouTube video, or I said get tickets, or I said here's a flyer that has the color green in it. I have no idea. Like, one thing will pop off and just go nuts and have 800 comments, and the next thing I'll have 1 like, and it's the same shit, and it drives me nuts. So my goal is to put it out there as often as I can, as many places as I can, and hope that you guys care enough to come find it. And so you're the type of dudes that are looking at the Pyramid Scheme's website to see what's coming. You're following the Instagram. You're realizing that you're probably not seeing it all, so you should go investigate harder. I can take certain shows and tell our 75,000 followers across all of our platforms about it, and there could be one person out of those 75,000 that gives a flying crap about that show. And those are the tough ones, right? Those are the ones where it's like, okay, I've done everything I can from like an organic perspective. Obviously, you can spend money. We've got relationships with YC. We've got relationships with local spins and John Sinkovich and, just two wonderful outlets that, again, Grand Rapids is so blessed and lucky to have, or West Michigan is lucky to have. But even them, I'll give tickets to WYCE for some shows and they'll come back to me like, we couldn't give these away. It's like, we got a problem, So all we can do is yell, right? But my job is also to give all of the artists resources, the flyers, well done, well presented, all the links that they need. You can only imagine how many Google Docs I have and PDFs and media lists and things that I share with the artists to tell, Pretty Sure is killing it with like getting their name out there. They've hit every possible press angle in all of West Michigan. And it's still not good, I could just put a show on sale for the Foo Fighters and it'll sell 100 Pyramid Schemes in 5 minutes. And Pretty Sure is going to, really grind and hopefully do 250 or 300 people this weekend, and that'd be awesome. That's a huge success if we do that well for them. But they're really having to hustle to do it. Right.
Mhm.
And there are some bands that take off with it and love that shit and love just like, let's get into it. And then some are like, we just want to show up and play our music. And sometimes that works. And sometimes that is a giant empty room with no one there. And you can see every zigzag in the floor and you can see every staff member in the back. But the hope is that I've done my job enough to realize that early on, like, oh, this act is not as excited to promote, and find ways to encourage them to do it, whether it's providing resources, doing some of the heavy lifting for them, providing financial incentives to do better. And you see all that stuff coming. And, it's interesting because I've always been on teams. I was a buyer that like handed things off to the marketer and I handed things off to the production people. Now that I'm that guy, I'm the whole team as far as the marketing of the thing goes. The only person that touches marketing in any other way is Jeff doing the artwork for us, because Jeff is the skilled artist that can whip together a poster that you're like, where did that come from? I don't have that skill set. And Jeremy prints tickets, but Jeremy's running the club, staffing the room, running the bars, all that. Rick and the team are doing sound and lights and all that. My job is just to like connect those dots and make sure that I see the things that are going well and emphasize those. But I also see the things that are coming up short and just pump whatever energy I got left into those things. And hopefully they go. And sometimes it just doesn't go, and
Right.
maybe it was a bad bet on my part. Maybe it was a rough time. People go through stuff and we have to be, understanding of like, hey, somebody passed in my family, so I don't give a shit about my band right now. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to boot their ass out or tell them they can't come back. Obviously, if they are egotistical about it and like, you guys should have done better, but that vibe doesn't happen in the Pyramid Scheme because our team is on it. The experience is so good. It feels good. It sounds good. Generally, we don't have those nights where we're all pointing fingers at each other like, you did this. And a lot of venues I've worked in the past, dude, it just, it was a ton of that stuff. Failed nights that, somebody needed to be blamed, and whether it was the promoter or the venue or the, whatever. So we're just trying to avoid that. Like I said, if we can book good shows and then just stay out of our own way, we've got the bones of the foundation of a place that's going to lead to great nights.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome. Good question.
Well, thanks, Nate. I mean, like I said, we could probably talk all night, and you could share tons of stories, and maybe we need to do a part 2 with La Dispute at some point. You could talk for hours on that too, but we just appreciate you coming on, and appreciate you representing the Pyramid Scheme and talking about what that special place is. And like you said, 15 years. That's pretty cool.
So the West Michigan music scene is amazing, but the scheme in particular, like their mission seems to be give local acts a chance. Like before we were anything, before we were too huge, we got the opportunity to play here with 2 national acts, Susto and Brother Elsie, and it was one of the most amazing moments I've ever had to be, in a band. And they continue to do that. They want to support local. They want to support bands who haven't had that shot before, and there aren't a lot of venues like that.
And then simultaneously, they're also hosting such amazing artists that I know that like all of us look up to and respect. Just even just go as like a concert goer, so to be able to like play on the same stage is awesome. And I know that like the feel of the venue, I feel like is just like a perfect like balance of it can be really intimate, but it can also hold a lot of people at the same time. So I feel like it creates like the best energy for a show.
Yeah.
And also, like, the staff here is so friendly and professional. Like, it is an amazing place to play shows, and it is an amazing place to see shows. Like, the energy that you get from a national band that comes to a small, smaller, relatively speaking, place like here, and it's just like that energy and being right up front, like in front of you, and then at the same time, like a few months later down the road, sharing that stage with that national band. It's a huge thing.
I mean, ditto basically everything everyone already said. I mean, growing up in Grand Rapids, like this is always the place that I've always held as like a special place in my heart. Just again, as everyone said, like being able to see amazing bands from around the country that I've looked up to for years, and local bands that I've looked up to for years, being able to now be on the stage where those people played, it's pretty awesome to be able to come full circle. So
Agreed.
We play a lot of bars and stuff, but
That's-
here we kind of get a little bit more of a full sound, a proper sound check.
Yeah, versus it just kind of being like a mesh of sounds. It's more dialed in. They take it more serious. They have a guy who knows what he's doing, so it's just sounds better to where you feel the music rather than it just kind of coming at you.
Like
And
you're at an
even
actual venue.
Yeah, even on stage, you can hear yourself better, and the quality it really makes you get in the music feel because it just resonates in this room. So
And it helps us out too because we have to promote it. It's like one of the only venues that we play consistently, or once a year, I would say, but consistently at once a year, where you have to sell tickets and promote yourself. So that helps us out too. And then it also helps out our fan base and friends and family who like to come in and see us play at a place that actually makes us look good, and it's not bar sound and stuff. It just sounds we sound better here, and we love it.
Going to Grand Rapids for the first time to play our first show at the Pyramid Scheme, which was like huge. Like it was such a big deal. And it is still a big deal every time we get to play that stage. That's why like anytime we have a release show or like headline in Grand Rapids, it's going to be the Pyramid Scheme. Like there's a lot of other really great venues. But like John was saying, like the staff, the owner, the promoters that work there, like we just love them. Like we do not want to get away from that at all. Like no matter where we go, if we start doing really well in the future and start blowing up, and that would be great, but we'll still play like 2 nights at the Pyramid Scheme then.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe. And also check out our website, themittenmusic.com. Sign up for future information. And also check out our social clips on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Make sure to tune into our next episode to figure out where we're going next in Season 5.